Welcome back, guys. So today we're finally talking about something that we've been waiting for a while. That is how to use an OTG adapter on our PlayStation Classic to both power the system and load our USB drive with our games. So we're going to be specifically talking about this with AutoBleem. If you're a fan of BleemSync, that's fine. These steps are going to be the same. Essentially, we're going to be loading up the first parts of BleemSync and then just discarding BleemSync. We're going to be using AutoBleem from here, but the principle's the same. If you want to use BleemSync, these are the same steps you would use. But for me, nothing against BleemSync. I just prefer using AutoBleem. So what you're going to do is navigate to this website, Mod My Classic. There's going to be instructions and everything, but what you're going to want to do is download these two files here. Put them somewhere where you can easily find them. The OTG adapter that I'm going to be using is this one. I have a bunch of them from previous pie cart builds and stuff like that. The price is fair, but you can use a lot of these other ones. I'll put a link in the description for the one I'm using. I prefer the cable. That way there's nothing coming out of the side of the system. When you use these left angle ports, you have your USB drive hanging out from the side. Looks a little wonky to me. I prefer going about it this way. I do use, a cruiser fit and then the slim Samsung drive. I'll have links in the description for that as well. Now, one of the things you may need to do is format your drive depending upon what size it already is. I highly recommend using Ease US Partition Master. There is a free version. What you would do is plug in your drive, open this program up, navigate to which drive it is. For example, mine is drive 5, which is letter J. I already have it formatted, Sony and FAT32. So if you have to format it, you can go about it this way. Right click, click format. Now this little thing doesn't want to come all the way over to my second screen, but you can kind of see what I'm talking about. You would just change the partition label to Sony. You can go FAT32 and then change your cluster size, hit OK. And then once you hit OK, it'll ask you if it's all right and it'll throw it up here to execute. You have to execute it. It'll ask you, pending operations. If you want to go ahead and do it, you just click apply and then boom, it'll take a second and format it to FAT32. So there is that. Let's get out of this program. Now, once we have that ready, you'll go ahead and navigate to your drive. There should be nothing on there. These two folder or files, the BleemSync 1.1.0 and then the LBoot, we're going to need those, but this one you could set to the side for now. This you'll open up, take these two files, drag and drop it on to your USB drive. Let that load up, give it a minute, and then we're going to go on to the next step. Okay, so our next step, we have everything that we need. I have my USB drive that I loaded up BleemSync on. I have my drive with my AutoBleem build on it. Then I have my OTG adapter. So what we're going to want to do, this is the drive that we're going to be using. We don't want the system powered on. So you see we have it on right now. We need to make sure it's turned off. And then from there, make sure your power is unplugged. Plug in your drive to player 2. And then go ahead, plug your power back in. Give it a moment. The light should turn the orangish color. Once that has happened, go ahead and hit your power. And give it a second, it'll load up. We'll start seeing some magic being done. So right here, it's going to be creating a file system, backup. It's going to be doing a good majority of its thing right now. So just give this a moment, relax, grab a snack, maybe something to drink, and chill. Don't touch anything. You see the light's going to be flashing red and green, Christmas colors. Don't touch a thing. You don't want to mess anything up. I've heard of people possibly bricking their system because they touched power, they unplugged it during this process. don't do anything. Leave it alone. This can take a few minutes, up to 5 minutes or so, so just let it hang out. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through this process, but let you see everything that happens. It'll keep you up to date on the screen, so keep an eye on that. Okay, so there we go. The system has installed what it needed to do at this step. Once it says it's rebooting and the screen goes black and your light turns orange, you are now good to remove the USB drive, plug it into your PC, and follow along for the next step. So let's do it. Okay, so for our next step, we have the USB drive removed from the PlayStation Classic, plugged into our PC, navigated to the drive, our Sony drive. So now you see we do have a log folder, so that shows everything had went through, the bootloaders on there. You'll leave all that stuff alone, especially if you're going to use this drive to run Bleem Sync. We're not worried about Bleem Sync. We just want this OTG support for AutoBleem. So the first thing you're going to do is go to this Bleem Sync folder. There's going to be a backup folder. This has the kernel, the original stuff from the PlayStation Classic, because with Bleem Sync, you are loading things into the actual system. If you're going to continue with Bleem Sync, leave this backup folder where it is. But regardless, AutoBleem, Bleem Sync, doesn't matter. Make a copy of this backup folder. I have one right here with the same exact files. Make sure you do that. Like I said, if you're running with Bleem Sync, leave that on the drive. But the next thing we want to do, either way, going with Bleem Sync or AutoBleem, OTG support, we're going to go to this update folder. There's nothing in there. We're going to go ahead and drag and drop that lboot file onto that folder. So from here, we can move on to the next step. Unplug the USB drive and let's get going. Okay, so for the next step, you see I have the power supply removed. I highly recommend doing that. We have our USB drive with the lboot file on the update folder, or in the update folder. We're going to go ahead, plug in our USB drive into player 2, plug back in our power supply, give it a second for that light to turn orange. Come on, there she goes, and then go ahead and hit power. The USB drive may flash once, that's fine. Once nothing is going on, this is orange, hit power. Then you'll see screen flashes, comes back on, our light is green, give it a second, it's orange now. USB drive is doing some magic, it is flashing, it's loading the kernel, do not turn off the console. Once that is done, only takes a few seconds, not a big deal. This is going to be flashing green. Don't touch anything until that is completely orange. So there we go. We are orange. Good to go. So let's go ahead, unplug our power supply, remove the USB drive. We're going to go ahead and plug in our OTG adapter. First, I'm going to plug in my Samsung drive that does have the AutoBleem build on it. Plug that in. So we have the drive in there. We have our power end, plugging it into the PlayStation Classic. And then our actual power cable, we will plug it in as such. Give it a second for our light to turn orange, and then go ahead and hit power. And if everything went as planned, we should be booted up straight into AutoBleem, no problem. And there we go, friends. We are in AutoBleem without the drive plugged into the second player port. it is plugged into the back. Pretty darn sweet. So press start, starting Evolution UI. We have all of our games ready to go. Definitely exciting. If you follow these steps, step by step, take precaution not to touch anything while it is doing what it is doing. Make sure you're not doing anything until that light turns orange. That's the biggest thing. Just let it do its stuff. Don't touch anything and you will be good to go. I'm super excited to have my AutoBleem build ready to roll, be able to play 2 players. Everything looks good, especially in my eyes with this corded OTG adapter. Just, it looks a little cleaner to me. Doesn't have anything hanging off the side right here. So there we go. Really do appreciate you guys. It was fun. Loved getting this thing set up. We've got a lot more PlayStation Classic content coming in the future, so stay tuned for that. But this was definitely a cool one. So thank you. With that said, I will catch y'all next time. Peace out, bye-bye, and boom. Bye.